Surprisingly, over 90% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. If you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. It motivates us to keep creating and helps us never miss an upload. I used to think routine meant safety. Every morning I brewed the same dark roast, tied the same navy tie, kissed the same woman on the forehead, and drove to the same glass building where my boss's corner windows threw sunlight across the lobby like a promise. Familiarity felt like a warm coat. It also kept me from noticing the draft sneaking under the door. It started with a stray comment. My wife, Lila, held up a photo on her phone after dinner. A gala shot. My boss, Patrick Hale, with his tuxedo trimmed to perfection, one hand on a polished award, a press backdrop glowing behind him. "He looks like success," she said, almost to herself, then smiled at me with an apology that wasn't quite an apology. I laughed it off. I told myself I was being silly when the words stuck in my ribs. A few weeks later, the jokes came. "Patrick's car could buy a house," she said while we folded laundry. "He's got good taste." I nodded. I'd once thought she liked my practical car, the kind that survives winters and potholes. I told myself marriage doesn't run on chrome and horsepower. It runs on inside jokes, shared grocery lists, the right song playing while you cook. I didn't notice the playlist had changed. Signs followed like dropped breadcrumbs. Lila started staying out late on book club nights, returning with a perfume that wasn't hers. A stray cufflink appeared in the dryer, the kind engraved with initials, not mine. When I held the cool metal, my fingers shook. I told myself there had to be a reasonable explanation. People lose things. Mix-ups happen. "It's Abby's husband's," she said without missing a beat. I helped with their laundry while they moved. She smiled again, that apologetic sparkle. And I wanted to believe. I did. Truth arrived in the quiet way truth always does, without fanfare, without an introduction. Just a simple text meant for someone else. Her phone lit up beside the sink while she showered. I wasn't snooping. I tell myself that even now. The preview flashed his name, P. Hale. Then a line that slid under my skin like ice. "Last night was electric. Same spot Thursday?" My first instinct was to storm the bathroom, demand answers, raise my voice until the mirror fog trembled. Instead, I set the phone back where it lay and gripped the counter. I could hear the water beat on tile, the scent of her shampoo rising in small clouds. My reflection looked unfamiliar. Tired eyes, a jaw set so hard it clicked. I thought of our wedding day, sunlight on her shoulders, her laughter when the ring stuck on my knuckle. I thought of rent payments, anniversaries, the plant we kept forgetting to water but kept alive anyway. I thought of Patrick's practiced smile in Monday meetings, the way he pronounced my ideas as if they'd been living in his head all along. And I thought about that word, successful. When Lila stepped out, wrapped in a towel, she saw me standing there. For a moment she seemed startled, then composed. "You're home early," she said. The words felt scripted. "I saw a message," I said, my voice strange in my own mouth. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry or beg or even look ashamed. She leaned on the counter, the towel tucked calmly, and said, "You've been coasting, Mark. You're good, but you play small." He doesn't. 1,000 answers crowded my throat, none of them dignified. Her words echoed, turning me brittle from the inside. She kept going, gentle, as if we were discussing budget groceries instead of a knife stuck into the heart of us. "I never wanted to hurt you. I need a partner who's going somewhere faster, someone who fills a room." I wanted to say I fill rooms with reliability, with steady hands, with the kind of effort that doesn't photograph well. I wanted to say nobody builds skyscrapers without 1,000 beams hidden behind glass. Instead, I said nothing. Silence can be a shield or a shovel. That day it became both. I packed a bag while she put a kettle on the stove like we were simply navigating a small weather system. My hands moved without permission, shirts, socks, phone charger, the framed photo from our first apartment. I set the frame down again. Leaving felt like ripping a number out of a lineup and hoping the equation still balanced. As I closed the door, Lila called after me, "I'm sorry, Mark." Her voice held a softness that almost made me look back. I didn't. I slept on my brother's couch for 2 weeks, then found a small studio apartment with sticky windows and a view of a brick wall. On the first night, I lay awake, listening to the radiator knock, and made a decision that surprised me in its clarity. I would say nothing at work. No scenes, no accusations, no whispered gossip dropped like coins into the break room. Instead, I would treat my silence like kindling. I would feed it with effort until it burned hot enough to forge something new. The next morning, I arrived at the office before sunrise. The security guard raised an eyebrow and pushed the door open with a grin. I took the stairs two at a time, settled into my chair, and mapped the entire quarter on a whiteboard. Projects, deliverables, pain points we kept ignoring because they lived in the unglamorous corners of our process. A year sounds long until you break it into weeks. Then it becomes a list you can check off. Fix the reporting pipeline, unstick that partner integration, recruit a quiet genius for analytics, learn to present like the room belongs to you without needing to raise your voice. I erased coasting from my inner vocabulary like it was gum stuck under a desk. I started staying late, not the performative kind where you haunt the doorway of your boss's office, but the kind where you leave behind clean systems and clear memos someone else can use. I documented everything, built dashboards the executives actually understood, and trained the junior team with patience I hadn't believed I possessed. I stopped chasing credit and started distributing it like oxygen. When meetings came, I spoke last, summarizing crisply, offering a single path through the thicket. People noticed, not with confetti or applause, with trust. I also listened. I learned Patrick's calendar like a map and didn't step on it. I observed where he was sharp and where he faked it. Every leader has a blind spot. His lived in the old contracts, where tiny clauses sucked value like leeches. He loved a headline. He ignored footnotes. I do not ignore footnotes. I began to renegotiate small terms, the sort that don't make a splash but add up like interest. When a long-neglected client threatened to leave, I flew out quietly, had coffee with their COO, and returned with a renewed multi-year deal and an email calling our team astonishingly competent. I forwarded it to the department with a smiley face, then archived it and kept moving. Outside the office, I learned to cook simple meals, ran in the cold until my cheeks burned, and found a way to enjoy silence without feeling empty. My brother tried to drag me out to bars. I went once, ordered soda, and left early. He looked worried, but I wasn't hiding. I was building, wordlessly, almost stubbornly, as if diligence itself could be a form of prayer. Meanwhile, rumors drifted. Lila posted polished photos with glittering captions. A weekend at a vineyard, a charity dinner. I scrolled, set the phone face down, and went back to revising a proposal. When paperwork for the divorce landed in my inbox, I signed digitally, took a long breath, and walked to the park to sit under a sycamore where children shouted around a jungle gym. That night I wrote a note to myself on an index card. Build something nobody can take with a text. Spring lifted winter from the city like a blanket. At work, promotions bloomed for people I had championed. Senior managers sought my input before presenting to the board. I didn't bang a drum, I tuned the orchestra. When a cross-department fiasco erupted over a failing vendor, I assembled a small strike team and fixed it in 48 hours, leaving behind a guide so it wouldn't break again. In the post-mortem, Patrick took the microphone and praised collective grit, his gaze sliding over me and away. I kept my eyes level, hands still. I also studied the company itself, the org chart, the politics, the quiet power brokers 2 levels down who truly made things run. I built relationships with them over coffee and kindness. No angle, no smarm. Just respect. People remember who listens. One evening, the CEO's assistant called me with a question about a report I'd drafted. She sounded harried. I talked her through the numbers, then rewrote the summary and sent it directly to her inbox with clear bullets and a tidy graph. She replied with a single line, "This is what I needed, thank you." 2 days later, the CEO asked if I could present a brief at the quarterly review. It wasn't a spotlight moment, only 10 minutes near the end. I rehearsed at my kitchen table, corrected my posture in the reflection of my microwave door, and reminded myself the point wasn't flame, it was clarity. The review felt calm. My slides were simple, my message crisp. Here is where we leak money in plain sight. Here is how we stop. Here is what we gain without chasing headlines or gambling brand capital. I finished and sat. The room nodded. Patrick clapped first, perhaps a beat too quickly. The CEO asked for a copy of my framework. The board chair requested a follow-up note outlining staffing needs if we expanded the pilot. I walked back to my desk and ate the sandwich I'd brought from home. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother. "You good?" I typed back. "Getting there." Summer drifted in with heat that stuck to shirts and tempers. Patrick started missing small things. A deadline slid by. A client waited too long for a callback. A budget line went fuzzy. He wore success like a heavy coat even in July. I kept doing the work I'd mapped in January, line by line, invisible but unmistakable in its effect. When a headhunter reached out with a role at a competitor, I listened. The offer sparkled. I thanked her, breathed, and declined. I wasn't finished here. Then came the email that changed the weather. The CEO requested a confidential conversation. I sat across from her at a small table in a conference room that had a plant I always wanted to water. She didn't smile much. She didn't need to. "I've been watching your work," she said. "You don't grandstand. You solve things. We're restructuring the division." She paused, choosing words. "We're considering new leadership." I met her gaze. "What does the division need?" I asked. "Stability with momentum," she said. "Systems that last. Someone who can upgrade the engine while the plane keeps flying." I didn't mention Patrick. I didn't mention texts or cufflinks or wine-sweet photos. I spoke about the team, the gaps I saw, the path forward. When she asked whether I wanted the responsibility, I said yes with the steady conviction of a man who has practiced saying yes to himself for months. The process moved quickly, then slowly, then quickly again, the way these things do. Interviews, assessments, discreet references from people I didn't know had been watching. I kept working as if nothing had changed. People whispered. I smiled, shook my head, and said I had a meeting. On a Tuesday morning heavy with sky, I received the offer letter. I stood at my desk, reading the words twice, a third time letting them sink in. Senior Vice President of Operations. My signature trembling slightly at the bottom. Effective in 2 weeks. I closed my eyes and pictured a sycamore leaf turning in a breeze. I never told Patrick, the CEO did. There were closed-door meetings I wasn't invited to. A legal department draft or two. A graceful exit package or so I heard. News broke internally on a Thursday afternoon at 4 when people are too tired to pretend surprise. An email celebrated Patrick's new opportunities and praised his lasting contributions. The second paragraph introduced me. I didn't go to his farewell gathering. I stayed at my desk and wrote an agenda for my first all-hands as division lead. 3 pages. Gratitude, expectations, a vision built on measurable steps rather than slogans. When I finally shut my laptop, the office was empty. City lights glittered across the glass like distant campfires. I walked to the corner window, his window soon, and touched the cool pane. That night, alone in my apartment, I brewed tea and set the old index card on the table. Build something nobody can take with a text. I drew a small check mark in the corner. Not because the journey was over, but because I had finally reached the doorway to a different room. On Monday, I would unlock that room. On Monday, I would step into the office that had once cast sunlight like a promise. On Monday, I would take my seat. I didn't know who would be waiting behind the next knock on the door. I didn't know what kind of apology travels years to arrive all at once. I only knew this. Silence had brought me here, not as a void, but as a vessel. It was almost full. The morning I walked into Patrick's old office, everything looked exactly the same. The mahogany desk polished to a gleam, the city skyline stretching wide behind the glass. But the air felt different. Not heavier, not lighter, just charged, like a song holding its breath before the next note. The plaque on the desk still bore his name. I didn't remove it right away. I wanted to leave it there for a day, a quiet reminder that titles change faster than habits. I set my coffee down beside it, opened my notebook, and started writing the first agenda for my new team. The pen didn't shake this time. By noon, the department buzzed with cautious curiosity. People dropped by with polite congratulations and sidelong glances. Every smile held a question they didn't want to ask aloud. How did you do it? I just said, steady work, because the real answer sounded too simple for the climb it took. Then, right as I was finalizing the quarterly targets, the receptionist called. Someone's here to see you, she said, hesitant. She says it's personal. Her name caught in the air like static. Lila. I froze for half a second, then told her to send her up. I didn't know why. Maybe I wanted to see if her eyes still carried the same confidence that once made me feel 10 feet tall. Maybe I wanted to see if guilt leaves a visible shadow. When the elevator doors opened, time slowed. Lila stepped out in a white blouse and careful makeup, the kind that said she'd planned this moment. For a second, she didn't recognize me behind the new desk. Then realization dawned, draining the color from her face. "Mark?" she whispered, as if saying the name might undo what she was seeing. I stood. "Lila." She glanced around the office, the walls, the view, the nameplate she used to admire when it belonged to him. "You're in charge now?" "Acting division head," I said, "permanent after the board vote." Her composure wavered. She clutched her purse tighter, eyes darting toward the door as if Patrick might appear any second. But of course he wouldn't. He was gone, out of the company, out of this world she'd chosen over me. "I didn't know," she said softly. "I just heard Patrick left. I came to—" She swallowed. "I came to talk." I gestured to the chair across from me. "Go ahead." She sat, folding her hands, searching for the right entry point. "Things didn't work out with him," she said finally. "He wasn't who I thought he was." "That must have been disappointing," I said, my voice steady, detached. "He changed," she said quickly, like she wanted to rewrite history. "The stress, the pressure. I thought success made people happier, but it just made him cruel. And when he lost his job, he blamed me for distracting him." I didn't react. The silence stretched. She shifted, nerves betraying her calm mask. "You look good, Mark," she said. "Different, stronger." "I've been working on that," I said. "I was stupid," she continued, her voice trembling just enough. "I thought I needed someone ahead of you. I didn't see that you were already becoming everything I wanted." For a long moment I just looked at her. The woman I once built my life around, now sitting in the seat where she'd planned to never return. I saw regret in her posture, but also something familiar. Ambition dressed as affection. She wanted back in now that the tide had turned. "I don't hate you, Lila," I said at last, "but what you broke wasn't my heart. It was the version of me that thought I needed your approval to be worth something." Her lips parted, but no words came. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I added, "but it's not here." She blinked rapidly, eyes shining. "You're really not going to give me another chance?" "I already gave myself one," I said. That landed. She stood slowly, smoothing her blouse, trying to recover dignity. "You've changed," she said. "I had to," I replied. As she left, I noticed her reflection in the glass, a flicker of the life I'd escaped. The elevator doors closed behind her, and the room fell quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner. I sat back, exhaling years I didn't realize I'd been holding. There was no triumph in that moment, no movie-ending glow. Just peace, the kind that comes when you finally stopped chasing closure and started living in it. Later that evening, as the city lights shimmered below, I sent one short message to my brother. "It's done." He replied a minute later, "Proud of you. Dinner soon?" I smiled. "Yeah," I murmured to the empty room. "Dinner sounds good." And as the night settled over the skyline, I understood something simple but powerful. Sometimes revenge isn't about taking something back. It's about standing where they thought you'd never stand, calm and whole, while they finally see what they lost. A week after that meeting, life settled into a quiet rhythm again. The office no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt like a canvas. People stopped whispering my name with surprise and started treating me like I'd always been there. I found joy in the small victories, the team's laughter during late-night brainstorming, the way new hires sought my advice, the satisfaction of seeing projects finish without chaos. But one morning, while reviewing quarterly reports, I received an unexpected email. Patrick wanted to meet. For a long time, I just stared at the message. No insults, no apologies, just a request for coffee. I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. Maybe part of me wanted to see how he'd carry defeat. So, I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe 2 blocks from headquarters. He arrived 10 minutes early, dressed sharply as always, but his confidence was thinner now. Like a man who had rehearsed courage in the mirror, and was still unsure it fit. "Mark," he said, standing to shake my hand. "Thanks for coming." "Patrick," I replied evenly. He smiled without warmth. "You've done well for yourself. Congratulations." "Thank you." He hesitated before leaning back. "I underestimated you," he admitted. "I thought you were just another good worker. Turns out you were competition." "I wasn't competing," I said, "just doing my job." He gave a small laugh. "That's what makes it worse." Silence sat between us, heavy but clean. He eventually sighed, glancing out the window. "Lila told me she came to see you." "I know," I said. He looked almost embarrassed. "She's confused. I'm not proud of how things ended." "I'm not interested in either of you explaining," I said quietly. "Whatever happened, it's behind me." He nodded, but there was a flicker of regret in his eyes. Maybe not for me, but for the way everything he'd built had slipped through his fingers. "You'll do fine," he said finally. "Better than I did." I stood to leave. That's the plan. When I stepped outside, the morning sun hit the street in gold. Streaks. The city hummed with life, indifferent to old wounds. I took a deep breath and let the last fragments of resentment dissolve into the noise of traffic and possibility. That evening, my team surprised me with a small celebration. A cake, laughter, and a card full of signatures. It wasn't about revenge or titles anymore. It was about the work, the people, the sense of direction I'd rebuilt from ashes. After everyone left, I lingered by the window again, looking out over the skyline. The same view Patrick once owned, the same sunlight Lila used to admire. But now it was mine. Not because I'd taken it, but because I'd earned it. My phone buzzed with a message from a new employee. "Thank you for believing in me." I smiled. That was it, the full circle. In the end, the story wasn't about betrayal or payback. It was about patience, dignity, and the quiet power of letting time reveal truth. Success had stopped being something to prove. It had become something to live. I turned off the lights, locked the office, and walked out into the night feeling lighter than I had in years. Some victories don't need applause. They just need peace.